on our app. Our first guest tonight, D.C. area attorney Seth Baronswig and Inez Stepman. She's a senior policy analysis for the Independent Women's Forum. Let me both just get your reaction to what you saw and heard today from both people.
I think really what we saw today was the need for having a presumption of innocence and for a standard of evidence, because what a lot of Americans saw today were two narratives, two people putting forward what seemed to be very believable testimony that completely contradicts each other. And I think that highlights the need for a fair process, for a standard of evidence, for some kind of due process, and for a presumption of innocence. Because I think a lot of Americans today don't know who to believe, and that's where that presumption of innocence comes in.
And you support Judge Kavanaugh?
I think he should be confirmed.
Okay. Your take?
Well, my take is that today was really historic on several dimensions. First of all, I think that we saw the complete collapse of the Senate Judiciary Committee. This is one of the most powerful committees in Washington that has one of the most serious constitutionally charged responsibilities. I found it very incredible that at the beginning of the day they were saying, let's have decorum and dignity, and then not long after that they were just tearing the stuffing out of each other. So it was a complete collapse of the process where they ended up having a lot of finger pointing. But the other thing that I found to be really relevant from a constitutional standpoint was when the judge was getting so fired up in his opening statement that he actually talked about political conspiracy and vengeance by the Clintons. And I think that that's a dangerous turning point, because as this process collapses, it falls on the roof of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has constitutional credibility because of a lack of being politicized. We saw a turn on that today. I think that's really dangerous.
I thought Republicans would have been really nervous after Professor Ford's testimony, but did the judge right the ship, so to speak? I mean, is he back in it right now? Does he have a solid chance tonight of getting that nomination, you think?
I think so. I thought his testimony was incredibly compelling, especially his opening statement, where he was clearly very emotional. And a lot of people have criticized him for being emotional about it, but I actually think it was good to show the country, what this process has been like for him and his family, and underscore again the needless kind of politicization of this. There are many ways that this could have been handled, with Dr. Ford's allegations could have been handled, that would have been much, much easier for both Dr. Ford, her family, and Brett Kavanaugh and his family. We could have handled this a lot better, and that politically motivated way of handling it, I think, does a great deal of damage, not only to both of their families, and which I'm completely sympathetic on, but also to the concept of Me Too and the non-political unity that has come out of bringing down real predators like Harvey Weinstein and others, and I think that's a dangerous politicization.
Let me ask you both, which strategy do you think strategy do you think was more effective? Democrats tried to hit hard on the fact that he hasn't called for an FBI investigation, right? Republicans tried to hit hard on the fact that, well, they had the information, they had the letter, we didn't get into the last minute, this is all political, you're trying to stop this guy's nomination. Which strategy worked?
Well, honestly, I think that the Democrats ended up with a little bit of a leg up on that issue. It was very compelling when they said to Judge Kavanaugh, do you want an FBI investigation? And I was very surprised that he didn't say something like, bring it on.
Right.
I mean, we know at the end of the day it's not going to be directed by the White House. It's not going to be encouraged by the Republican majority. And I thought that was a swing and a miss. The other thing that I thought was a swing and a miss also for the Republicans was trying to use a prosecutor. The woman from Arizona who came in as a prosecutor, she was there in the beginning, but it really ended up setting up a process where they expected the witness to come all the way across the country to talk in the microphone, but they weren't even willing to talk in their own microphones.
Yeah, did the Republican strategy work? You had this information, you pulled it out at the last minute. I think the president started it. Did it work? Was it effective today?
I think that there are a lot of conservatives in this country who are really, really angry about how this has been handled.
Right.
And I think that is an effective point for Republicans to make. I think that it's a legitimate point to make that how Senator Feinstein's office handled this was possibly the very worst way to go about it for everybody involved. She had the opportunity, as they pointed out, as Republicans questioned and drew out of Judge Kavanaugh today, they had the opportunity to question him behind closed doors. They didn't have to break the anonymous barrier that Dr. Ford wanted. And the way that this has been handled, I think Republicans are right to be angry, and I think their base is angry about it.
Okay, Seth and Inez, thank you both very much. To be continued. Coming up next, we're going to talk to a bipartisan panel of women who watched the